Hi everyone, so I'm sure by now you must be all set for your CSE prelims examinations. Revisions must be on a roll, you must be talking to your family and friends and thinking about how exactly can you give that 100% of your ability. Peer pressure, family pressure, revisions again and again, like very stressful, right? So let's just take a break from that for a while and look at things from a different perspective. So today we have Tina, Dabi and Athar with us who are going to show us a different side of the story, which is the journey of an IAS officer. So thank you so much for joining us today, Tina, Athar.
Oh, it's our pleasure. And being at an academy always makes us really excited. It's such a great platform, and you get to interact with so many students. So it's totally our pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That means a lot. I have seen a lot of your interviews. I have read so many articles. So I guess like you guys have spoken so much about how to prepare, how to what all books to follow and what all things to do. That's like a complete big list of do's and don'ts to keep in mind. Here we are trying to showcase a different side of the picture altogether. What exactly is the life after IS life? How's that? Because like done there, okay, you've been there, you've spoken so much about that.
Right.
What about like the other part of the spectrum? How's it?
Well, life after the cracking the civils and finally getting to know that now you are in IES. Well, for the first few months, you're on cloud nine, but then comes life at the academy. And academy makes sure that when you complete your training, you come out as a civil servant who is very disciplined, a no nonsense government worker, one who is very compassionate and has a well-rounded view about nearly everything and anything. So life at the academy begins like say at 6 a.m. in the morning and ends at 6 p.m. in the evening. So nearly a 12-hour schedule in which we undergo right from physical training to to getting into classes about nearly everything that a district collector is supposed to do. So it's basically to develop a wholesome personality, a well-rounded personality. So I wouldn't say that life after cracking the civils has been a cakewalk. But at the same time, it's very exciting because this is one thing you always wanted to do in life, and now you're getting to do, you're getting an opportunity to learn how to do all of that.
What about you? How's it?
Very much similar. As she said, after the results, you start thinking that you have probably arrived, but it takes a while. But very soon you realize that probably this is just the beginning. It was just the examination that you have cleared, and the real work, the real stuff that is now in front of you. And as she was rightly pointed out, the academy does the job pretty well. It takes that euphoria out of your mind in the first place, then also puts you in that right perspective and right frame that this is what this service is all about. What are the expectations and what are the aspirations of the people, which are straight away related to you and your work. So I think besides that, apart from the academy, we also get to do a lot of field visits. We go to a lot of places. There we also get the feel of the real life scenario. What is the condition of the people on ground and how much and what are the things that we are supposed to do. So I guess it's more of a realization of the responsibility that's on our shoulders rather than any euphoria that was there.
So when it comes to Indian society, so like one benchmark which is there for every student possible is just to crack IAS. Okay, nothing below that. Okay, so it's like a list. Okay, IAS and then IIT and IIM. So IAS like is there. Okay, so I just want to understand what exactly is the role and responsibilities of an IAS officer.
I think that an IS officer in the initial years gets to be part of the policy implementation. So I would say that it gives a direct platform and work for the system. And at the later stages of life, go into policy formulation. So broadly, it's from policy making to policy formulation. And when we are implementing the policy at our initial stages, we start off as an STM, then go as a DAM, district collector. And nearly anything and everything which concerns the district, be it drinking water, be it education, be it roads, be it infrastructure, nearly everything comes under the purview of a DM. So at one time you can be controlling some law and order situation, at other time you could be looking at the improving the infrastructure of the region. So that much is the responsibility and the purview of working of an IS officer, and probably that makes it so much sought after.
No. What about you? What's your take on this?
Yeah, I think she very correctly pointed out that the role is multifaceted. Whatever you can think of, you have to work that way. I think one very important thing that distinguishes this particular say work is that you get to work along with the people on ground, at least for a significant portion of your career. So say if you go to villages, you go to towns, wherever you go, you are seen as the symbol of government. So whenever any person is facing any kind of a problem, straight away they think that you are Panesha, you are there, you're somebody they can look up to, somebody they can go up to whenever they have a problem. So that thing, I think, is the one big major distinction which we have as a civil servant. That is, there is this faith of people in you. There is this faith of people in you that you are there to work for them. Your profession is working for people. Your profession is serving them.
Absolutely, and one thing which even I have realized is that you get a lot of satisfaction from the job, in the sense that you, like what Athar said, that you get so many opportunities to work for the society in general, that when you go back home and you realize that today one signature of yours changed lives of many, the happiness and satisfaction you get individually, I think no other profession probably gives you that, because it makes you work for a lot of people in very small steps. So the immense satisfaction that one derives from this job is very great, and that's one of the merits I think we have in this profession.
So you, in a way, you're kind of a part of solution. So we often raise issues. We're a developmental deficit. We have a lot of other issues. But when it comes to the solutions to these issues, you're a part of that solution. So if you work well, the solution is there. If you don't, then there can be even bigger problems. So I guess that feeling of being a part of that solution itself is a lot more satisfying.
Yes.
So I'm sure you must have interacted with hundreds and thousands of IAS officers till now. At the academy also, you are with them like the entire day, you're spending time with them, you're talking to them. So I just want to understand from you, like, how exactly do you think the young generation of IAS officers is actually changing the face of India right now? What do you think? How exactly is different?
It is how it is different. Number one is the context, the situation, the scenario in which the younger lot is operating is very much different from the ones which our very old seniors had. So, for example, we live in a world of social media. So you have spotlight everywhere. People know what you're doing. There is a lot of accountability now. There's a lot of awareness among people. So that sense of this understanding of this thing is also in the officers. There's the one part. On the second part, there's somehow this sense of competitive sense of doing good. You find young DMs and SDMs out in the field. Everybody wanting to I want to do, my district should do better than the other district, which wasn't probably there before. So I think this is a very wonderful change. We have been on our Bharat Darshan, and before that for our village visits also, we interacted with a lot of young officers. And it's wonderful. It's really amazing to see, how passionate they are about work and how much innovativeness, they try to bring in the work they do. So I think there's a lot to look for the present lot, towards the present lot.
Absolutely, and when he talks about the power of social media, we have a young IAS officer working in Nagaland who, using his Facebook profile, garnered 40 lakh rupees from people across India for building a road connecting 3 states, Assam, Nagaland and Mizoram, and it's called as the People's Road. And when you ask that how it is different with us younger lot, and probably say senior bureaucrats, so creativity, and using social media, the power of science and technology to achieve such a feat, whereby when the government probably is not okay with your proposal, but then making use of your own resources and getting 40 lakhs from the public and making a people's road connecting 3 states, I think that is just remarkable.
And also, I would like to add, when we interact with our seniors now, they're also aware of this fact that probably an IAS officer today is more tech savvy than probably they had been at their time. So they also, give a lot of encouragement to this. They give a lot of appreciation to this. So whenever, say, one of a young officer, in most of the cases, whenever he goes to a senior with some new innovative thing that he wants to implement, most of the times they get more appreciation, they get more support, and which I think is also very incredible.
Exactly, that's what like basically brings me to my next question, because I feel usually the traditional civil servants still like refrain themselves from the social media platforms and everything, and I've been following you guys on every social media platform.
Right.
So like I've seen like you guys keep updating about your whereabouts, you connect to your fans and followings, but I'm sure it has like the other side to the story as well. So like, do you think like it always works positively, or do you think in some scenarios it can backfire also, because you're always into the public eye and people are stalking you everywhere and then commenting and everything? What's your take on that?
Well, I think mostly it's positive. Positive in the sense that using social media has enabled me to connect with so many, say, civil service aspirants or other people who wish to join the civil services or want to know what the IAS is all about. So that ways it's amazing, and mostly it's positive. But I think there's like everything has pros and cons. So of course there's less of privacy since people follow you and keep track of your whereabouts. But I would still say I think it's mostly positive. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's mostly positive, and besides, it's also a fact that social media is there and people are on social media. Whether I, as a civil servant, choose to be there or not, I cannot ignore the fact that people are already there.
Yeah.
Now it depends on us. It depends on me how whether we use it in a positive way or get affected by it in a negative way. So I think there are a lot of social media campaigns in administration. You know, for example, let's talk about Swachh Bharat Abhiyan.
Yes,
It's a government
yes,
policy.
absolutely.
We try to reach people, as many people as we can through social media. It's one of the best platforms for us.
I think it also serves as a wake-up call. For instance, if it's been a while and I haven't been helping out, say, civil service aspirants, or some random comment will come up on my profile that, ma'am, you haven't been updating. So that ways, you know, it's positive. It sort of makes you alert. It's even negative sometimes. But I think everything has to be taken in its stride.
Enough has been spoken about the kind of power and the prestige and the respect a person gets once he's an IAS officer. But I also want to understand what kind of personal and the professional life struggles do you face? What kind of sacrifices does it take? Like basically it goes hand in hand, right? Because if you're achieving something, you're also leaving something behind. What kind of sacrifices do you take?
Well, you know, we are still in our probation period, so we haven't had the opportunity yet to make any sacrifices per se. But I realize what you're asking, and from whatever we have learned from the interactions with different IAS officers, and of course, there is a bearing on the personal life, since the role of an IAS officer is so huge. And it's a 24/7 job. So you can be called up anytime, say in the night, in the early morning. So of course, a lot of sacrifices go towards your personal life, your family life. But I think that's what you agree to give up when you join the civil services. For all the perks, say psychological perks, material perks that you get from the service, this is something you willingly enter into. And I think we all have it ready in our minds that, of course, a lot of times we will have to sacrifice our personal lives for a professional life.
What's your take on it?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Though it's a bit premature, I would say premature for us to comment on it. But you know, as far as we have seen a lot of seniors, yes, they do say that it's very tiring. You have to work around the clock, but I think at the same time they're very passionate about it. Like they say that the job is tough, yet they say that had we given another opportunity, we'll again try to live the same life. We have seen civil servants, right, who were at the verge of retirement and making the same comment. It was very tough. It was very struggling. We couldn't give time to ourselves, to leave alone our family. But at the same time, they do say that the kind of work we do is very satisfying, and I think that overpowers and overweighs everything else.
You willingly take up the job, and you know at the back of your mind that despite all the sacrifices, still the satisfaction that you will get will overpower whatever sacrifices you're making. So you willingly go for it.
Yes, and we keep on talking about it. Say probably one word to sum it up is that we are very fortunate, and only fortunate people get
Absolutely, completely in agreement with that.
Well, isn't it difficult to stay calm in a situation where your personal life is under that constant spotlight always? It's difficult. Yeah, because like if you're going out, you cannot have like a
Yeah, it is. It is. At the beginning, I think it's also a bit very scary. It's scary, but with time, you get used to it probably, and I think it doesn't affect that much beyond a particular point of time.
And you get used to it, I think. Uh, like I said, you take some things very willingly when you come into this profession, and people will look up to you. After all, you're here to serve them and look after them. So it's very natural that if, for instance, you're posted in a district, the people in the district will follow your every move and will keep track of you. So that is something you get used to and you willingly accept it, I believe.
So a lot of our followers really want to know what are those key essential qualities. Maybe let's just look at 3 qualities which an aspirant must have to become an IAS officer, and 3 big no-nos. Like exactly, you should not prepare for IAS only if you don't have these 3. Nothing like that. Let's start with that. Like 3
Okay.
must-have qualities.
3 must-have qualities. I think it's not only 3; it has to be many. It's must. One is, of course, you need to have a very, very positive and realistic view of the service itself. That is, you should not think that it's about perks and power and everything else. You have to think realistically what the service is about, and that is about service. Number one. Number second is you have to be very hardworking. As they say, talent is overrated. I think probably that's true. So if you work hard, you need to have that willingness to work hard, even after your examination, even after 10 years down your career, 20 years down the career, you need to be very very hardworking. Third one would be you have to be very compassionate. As you were talking in your previous question that you get stressed out. There's a lot of work. You may lose your cool and calm, but then you have to realize that your job is more of some more of heart than of head. You have to be very compassionate. So for me, 3 best qualities would be you have to be very true and honest towards the idea of the service, and number second is you have to be a very good hard worker, and number third is you have to be a damn good compassionate as a person. And 3 no's. 1 no I already covered. That don't be if you want perks, pure only perks. If you want money, this is not a job for you. Number second, if you're not ready to
everyone please hear that.
yes, and if you're not ready to work beyond a particular point of time, if you want to like say this is my limit, probably this work does not have a limit when it comes to the kind of work that you have. So that would be second no. And third no would be if somebody is forcing you to join the service, be it parent or somebody, then please don't. It has to be your own calling, at least a calling from your heart. Yes.
What about you, Tina?
Well, those of course are the essential qualities. I think, like I pointed out before, that it's a 24/7 job and you will be called upon to do this or that at any point of time. So, of course, you have to be very hardworking as a person. If you're a person who likes it easy in life, then this is probably not the right choice for you, because this is a profession which will demand a lot of your time and effort. So, you have to be a person who always comes on time. You have to be a person who's very dedicated to every small thing and every big thing in life. So in general, you have to be a hardworking person. Secondly, I think you have to be a very patient person. Why? Because every day, the same people or different people will come with the same problems, and you'll have to hear them out every day and every day. And sometimes the work is repetitive, and to deal with all of that, one has to be very patient. In fact, the exam requires a lot of patience. Every aspirant, anyone who sits for it, needs to give his or her 2 years of life. 1 year preparing, the other year sitting through it. So when so much time, energy, investment is involved, one needs a lot of patience, and I think patience is a very big key to being successful in this service. And third, like I completely agree with Athar here, that you have to be a person with a very compassionate heart. And the job of an IAS officer is so challenging that, somewhere deep in your heart, the passion for the service, why you for the very first time thought of entering into it has to remain. So compassion and passion have to go hand in hand. So for me, these are the essential qualities. You need to be a hard worker, you need to be very patient, and you need to have a very good heart. And if we talk about no-nos, that what you should avoid, uh, well, of course, we need good people in the government. We need good people who are willing to do good for the society in general. So anybody who has other vested interests in mind, which there are sometimes, of course, we wouldn't want such people with such qualities entering into the service. So like he said, dishonest people or people having vested interests in their mind, I think we certainly do not want those kind of people coming. Other than that, I think I am actually, I am a person who believe in grays, okay? I don't believe in blacks and whites. And I believe that everybody has redeeming qualities, and, you know, there's nothing ever good or bad completely. And even if, you know, for instance, we have some negative qualities at the moment, we always have the power to change them. So apart from, you know, people coming with a vested interest to do something bad, apart from not having those people, I think anyone and everyone who wishes to be here can come here.
Nice. Did you have any alternate career in your mind? Like, if not IAS, maybe I'll become a painter or something like
No, for me, it was not joining IAS was not something that I had in my very early in my student life. I initially wanted to be a doctor, then later on wanted to become an engineer. Later on, I wanted to go for higher studies.
Okay.
Later on, at some point, I wanted to do something in economics. But then, over a period of time, you know, that I realized that I was really attracted towards IAS. You know,
How did that happen?
During my college years only. I come from Jammu and Kashmir, and you know, I had a kind of distant view of two worlds. So one is when I was in college or when I would come to Delhi. So there's a different life altogether. Then I'd go back to my home, and then you also find a different life altogether. You also realize, you know, probably you have been the luckiest one among the huge lot who has got so many opportunities. Then, you know, that kind of it kept me always thinking, so what is it that I can do that probably I can contribute back to a society, and which I would also love to do. And that I think I found it's definitely going to be civil services. So it was after a lot of after a lot of options already being explored, this was the one that I arrived at. So here I did not have any alternate option. I think I had this faith.
Well, I
that
think
probably,
everyone goes through that phase. Right?
yes. So probably I had this faith that probably if I work hard, then I would make through.
What about you?
I think going into civil services was pretty fixed. My parents were very inclined, and of course, what one parent wants for their children or wishes, it has a huge bearing on our lives. So my father was very inclined that I joined the services, and somehow he felt I was always very interested and very active in community service at both school and college level. I have various records in that. So probably my father, you know, looking at what I really like to do and how, like I said, there are a lot of perks of joining the civil service, right from getting an opportunity to work for the people, to getting individual satisfaction, to being in a position where people look up to you. So a lot of all factors combined, he convinced me to start preparing when I was in class 11th, and I think I never looked back.
And there was that one most heartfelt note of appreciation you have received till date, be it from any of the colleagues or people you have worked with, or from a fan or anything?
When the result was out this time, I went back to my home. At my home, I have a grandfather who's been the biggest motivator and biggest inspiration in my life. And when I saw him for the first time after the result, he came towards me, hugged me, and I saw tears in his eyes. Probably that was it. It would never get bigger than that. So probably that was the biggest thing for me.
What do you think?
Well, I think I cannot place it at one person, one moment. But I think I come from a community where such sort of achievement is achieved for the first time after independence. and it's a huge milestone for the marginalized sections, and I think that is the biggest appreciation I have.
What's that one factor which keeps you going and motivated always? Keeps you on your toes always. One thing.
One thing that is I think the very reason why we joined this service. वो आग कहते हैं ना वो like that you have that thing in heart. It's not something to show off, something to tell because you have joined the service. It's because being as honest as one can be. I think I really consider myself very lucky and very fortunate that I have gone through this examination and I have been able to join the service. I think I consider this fortune that I have got is the biggest source of inspiration to me. And it's the biggest source that always keeps this feeling in mind that there's a lot of responsibility on your shoulders. So it's certainly that for me.
How about you?
Well, again, I really can't place it on one thing. I always, when I made up my mind that I want to go for this service and probably this would be the very right option for me, that was enough of an inspiration in the sense that if this is not it, then what would be? And of course, the constant motivation that I kept having from my parents helped me through. Because probably it was my father's dream to crack the civils, which he could never. So probably I'm living his dream.
Thank you so much. And I wish to meet you guys very soon. Once you're done with your training, I would love to interview you.
No, it was wonderful being here, and I think we're both very happy to have done this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Unacademy.